Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Mayor Lightfoot's post-council press conference. My name is Pat Dowell. I'm the 3rd Ward Alderman and also the chairman of the Budget and Government Operations Committee. So I thought I'd just like to give you a little bit of information about where we are in the budget process. As you all know, we ended our budget hearings on Friday successfully, and I'm very excited about where we are in the process to date. As you probably don't know, we started the budget earlier this year. We started in August and September with working groups that were organized by our budget director, Susie Park, our CFO, Jenny Bennett, working in collaboration with my office to invite the aldermen in to talk about their priorities for the budget and their communities. I think the budget that the mayor put forth was a very progressive budget in that it contained the ideas and priorities of not only the administration, but also many of my city council members. We are delighted to see that a lot of money has been put into, through the ARP, the recovery program money from the federal government. A great deal of money has been put into community services and mental health, housing, commercial development, recovery, violence prevention, priorities that we need in our communities to address. So now we begin sausage making for the next week and a half. We will be talking to individual aldermen and caucuses, the Black Caucus, Latino Caucus, Progressive Caucus, and others, to see if we can include additional ideas that have come up since Friday. And so we look forward to voting on this budget earlier than usual, so that we can get money out the door to service our communities. And with that, I'd like to call up my colleague, Finance Director, Finance Chairman Scott Waguespack.
Thanks, Alderwoman Dowell. I'm Alderman Scott Waguespack, Chairman of Finance. And I'll just dovetail on what Chairwoman Dowell talked about. This is one of the most progressive budgets that I have seen in my time as Alderman. As a lot of you know, starting over a decade ago, some of us were trying to push for a progressive budget. And starting last year, we were starting to see with the mayor's budget proposals a shift in that direction, which is what the people of this city have wanted to see for a long time. This budget, taking the ARP funds, is really putting us on a setting to really move the budgets in that kind of direction where we're addressing the issues of mental health, we're addressing the issues of domestic violence, we're addressing the issues of getting our youth jobs and getting them off the street and into places that they need to be that are safe and where they're productive. That also means that we're doing a lot with our schools, making sure that we're creating a stronger community with this budget funding. I think a more important thing to look at, too, is that we're also climbing the pension ramp. We're making sure that we're putting the funds that we need into the pension system. We're reducing the amount of debt that we have, and hopefully the mayor will talk about that as well. But this is activity that we're seeing in this budget for the first time in a long time. And being able to get rid of scoop and toss is really setting us on a financial footing that will put us on a pathway to matching what we need for our pension contributions and meeting the needs that the state has put us at. The additional ideas of paying down the debt are very important as well, because as everybody knows, the two biggest payments that we're making every year are for pension and for debt. And when we bring down this debt payment, we're going to be able to start spending money through the corporate budget and through our grant funding in the areas that this mayor wants to and where the citizens of the city want to see the funding spent. The other thing I would just touch on briefly is a lot of us know that there is a property tax portion to this budget. It's a small amount. It's about $23 million. And looking back over the last several years, whenever the City Council has deferred pushing for a CPI increase, what it leads to is several years of pushing things off and then coming up a few years later and saying, hey, we need a several $100 million increase in property taxes. That's not good for property taxpayers in the city because it is not predictable, it's not stable. What the CPI does for this budget is sets us on that predictability for taxpayers It creates a more stable funding source and allows us to move into the future with that source that we know exactly what's going to happen with it. We know exactly where it's going to go. And I commend the mayor and her staff for doing that. I think these commitments are important for the taxpayers of the city, for every citizen. We're addressing a lot of issues, as I said, that we've been waiting to address for many years. This is the first time I've seen a budget that takes in and incorporates all of these issues that we've been pushing for. A lot of my colleagues, the other 49 colleagues in this budget process, have been heard. The mayor has listened, her team has listened. Everybody from each one of these department heads here down to, or up to the CFO, the budget director. And it's been an important process that has been very open, very transparent in a way that I haven't seen in years, and I'm proud to stand with the mayor and my colleagues as we move this budget forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you to my colleagues in City Council. Thank you to the various commissioners and first deputies who are here. And thank you in particular for all the hard work that you've done, both on the budget and related issues that we're here to talk about today. Before I get in today's City Council update, I want to first reiterate the need for city workers to get vaccinated. Joining me in this effort, as you can see, are leaders and representatives from nearly every one of our city departments, because it's on all of us to do our part to make sure that we continue to educate our workers, that we maximize the opportunities that the life-saving and safe and free vaccine give us. And we want to make sure that we continue to do that hard and necessary work. As many of you know, throughout this pandemic, there were many frontline workers that didn't have the luxury of working remotely. And the one thing that I heard from union members across the spectrum was that they were concerned about their workers' health and well-being. Well, the vaccine gives us the opportunity to maximize safety in the workplace. And so what we're asking our employees to do is take advantage of this opportunity. Take advantage of it for themselves, for their families, for their work colleagues, and for community members, particularly those frontline workers that are in contact with members of the public every day. As you know, tomorrow is October 15th, which is the last day for city employees to submit proof that they are fully vaccinated or report that they are going to undergo COVID-19 testing on a twice-weekly basis in our vaccine portal, an option that will expire on December 31st of this year. The information that we are requiring employees to provide is very basic, much not intrusive, HIPAA compliant, ADA compliant. It's a simple yes or no. Yes, you're vaccinated. No, you're not vaccinated. If yes, then you provide your vaccination information. If no, then you're able to go to a different portal and sign up for, to say that you will take the weekly testing option. Pretty straightforward. Thereafter, all employees will be required to be fully vaccinated after December 31st unless they have received an approved medical or religious exemption. And let me also just say, if you have an exemption pending, then that will get resolved as quickly as possible. But it's important then for you to sign up to get tested while we and DHR processes your exemption request. So across every corner of our city and on a day-to-day basis, our workers are either in communities directly interacting with our residents or helping residents and working alongside their co-workers in city office and facilities. This means that the health of our city workers directly impacts the health of everyone that they interact with. And I believe in leading by example. And we've seen countless examples of other public entities, of their private sector employers, venues across our city who recognize the importance of people being vaccinated in public spaces. And the City of Chicago workforce is no different. One of the best ways that we can ensure that we fulfill our responsibility is for people to get vaccinated. Nearly all the departments represented here today have reached a high response rate. Most of those respondents are fully vaccinated, and full city-wide vaccination data will be released next week, as we have indicated on several occasions. And every single day we're seeing the amount of compliance go up and up. While progress is and continues to be made, this is an important step in the right direction. This vaccine policy, after all, is about ensuring a safe workplace, but fundamentally, it's about saving lives. We do understand that some people still need more time to think about getting vaccinated, which is why our vaccine policy has a temporary testing option through the end of the year. However, we also understand that testing is not the best way to ensure a safe workplace. All that does is tell you in a moment of time whether you are negative or positive. The only way to do so is by ensuring all workers are fully vaccinated. So city employees, if you haven't done so already, please report your vaccination status through our vaccine data portal before 11:59 p.m. tomorrow night. So that's right before midnight on Friday the 15th. If you fail to report your status by then, you will be placed in a non-disciplinary, no-pay status. And as Dr. Arty will show you all shortly, getting into the vaccine portal to report your status is so easy. It takes a mere minutes. And for those who report their status and are fully vaccinated, also remember that you will receive a personal day that must be used by the end of June. We want to thank you for getting yourself vaccinated, for making the choice to support yourself, your family, your coworkers, and your community. We need all of our workers within all of our departments and agencies to step up and do their part to end this pandemic once and for all. And the only way that we can do that, ladies and gentlemen, we know, is by getting people vaccinated. It's my hope and expectation that each and every one of our city workers will join us in the citywide effort. Now let me pivot and talk briefly about City Council. Given that we are less than 2 weeks out from what I hope will be the passage of the 2022 Recovery and Resiliency Budget, let me take this time to give you a recap of what's in it. First and foremost, this proposed budget will close our $733 million gap without any new taxes and no reduction in city services and no layoffs. This gap closure strategy both builds on and is a result of a number of accomplishments we've racked up on our journey towards structural balance that began with our first budget in 2019. For example, over the last 3 years, we've identified over $1 billion in structural solutions. We did not deplete our reserves, and we avoided massive layoffs. And in 2022, with the budget we're proposing, the city will climb its pension ramp, which means for the first time in our city's history, all 4 of our pension funds will be paid on an actuarially determined basis. This is significant news and a great accomplishment and really a testament to being determined and focused in making sure that we do the right thing to put our city budget on a structurally, fiscally sound footing and making sure that we're doing the right thing for the taxpayers in this city. And as a result of each of these accomplishments, we expect to reach structural balance by 2023, which bodes especially well for our prosperous post-pandemic recovery. As I've said many times, budgets are not just math problems. They are value statements. And in this time, our value statements must be bold, must be definitive, and must be transformative. That's why our ultimate goal with this recovery and resiliency budget is to recover and develop Chicago into a safer, stronger, more equitable, and more prosperous city. One in which people can take a root in, raise a family, build a business, and make a better lives for themselves and their families. To accomplish this ultimate goal, this budget also proposes to use $1.9 billion in ARP funding and an additional $660 million in enhancements to our Chicago Works capital plan to deepen ongoing investments, create a whole new series of new ones, and build out the infrastructure we need to maintain them for generations to come. This is an important moment in our city's history, and truly it's an important moment in our country's history. We have at our fingertips the tools to transform the lives, our people in our city, truly for generations to come. This last 19 months has been extraordinarily difficult. We have been through a lot and carried a lot of burdens and had to stretch ourselves in ways that we could never have possibly conceived before we started to know the language of a pandemic. But it's also given us amazing opportunities to right long-standing systemic wrongs, to look history in the face and not blink, but to think about the ways in which we can do the right things for our people once and for all, to make sure that we see the entirety of the city of Chicago, every neighborhood that we can spur with investment and give hope to families and individuals who are desperate in these times. This budget will do a lot, and we need everyone to join in. So if you're listening and you believe as I do that this is an important moment for us to move forward together, to make a statement that will resound for generations to come about what we can do to change the trajectory of people's lives in this city, call your alderman and tell them, vote for the budget. Vote yes, every aspect of it. Vote yes for now, vote yes for our future. We propose over $400 million investments to not only enhance community safety, but to bolster the most comprehensive violence reduction plan that has ever been released in the city. $10 million for a reentry workforce program, $35 million for new and existing investments to provide assistance for those experiencing gender-based violence, $52 million for additional investments in mental health, $240 million for additional investments in affordable housing to shrink our affordable housing gap, so people actually have a place to lay their head at night without worrying from day to day where they're going to be able to live. $71 million for targeted financial and legal assistance for underserved residents. $166 million for new and existing community development efforts to launch community wealth building pilot, revitalize our commercial corridors, and put 4,000 vacant lots into active use, and more. Now, the list is long. You've seen it. I encourage you to go to our website to learn more about what's packed into this budget. But the bottom line is this, as I said, this challenge that we face is a challenge that we can conquer. We can conquer it by being united. We can conquer it by making smart strategic investments born of not only the discussions with city council members, which have been thoughtful and robust, but in capturing what we have heard from residents all over the city, subject matter experts, community-based leaders, but ordinary residents who just want a better shot at life. That's what this budget promises. And I look forward to continued discussion with members of the City Council so that we can march into our shared destiny, our shared future together, with our heads held high and knowing that in this time we made the right choices for the right reasons on behalf of our residents. And now it's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Allison Artery to say a few words and give us an update on where we are on all things COVID. Dr. Artery.
Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot. Given the large number of speakers, we won't talk about all things COVID, but specifically related to the vaccine and the requirement for city workers tomorrow. There's been a lot of talk about this. I wanted to provide just a very few facts. Number one, as of today, 6,012 Chicago residents have died from COVID-19. 5,947 of these deaths, 99% of them, are in Chicagoans who were not vaccinated. The first and most important reason we vaccinate is to save lives. It is the most important thing. As soon as we knew there was a safe, free, widely available vaccine available, I started sleeping a lot easier at night. The reason that we have made the decision to require this vaccine is because it saves individuals' lives and it protects the workplace. And as the people who serve the city of Chicago, I believe we have a responsibility to do everything we can to decrease our risk of potentially spreading COVID to the people who we serve. I want to provide one other number, 0. That is the number of deaths that the Chicago Department of Public Health has awareness of that are directly related to receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. There's a lot of noise out there, but this vaccine is safe, it is effective, and it is the tool that is going to get Chicago past COVID. COVID vaccines have not been linked to any long-term side effects. Approximately 1/2 of the world's population, 6.5 billion people, have now gotten a COVID-19 vaccine. There is no link to pregnancy problems, to fertility problems in men or in women. That's true in Chicago, in the US, and around the world. And no authorized vaccine in history has been linked to adverse events that appear years after vaccination. It is just not how vaccines work. The last fact I want to provide is related to the details of uploading your vaccination status for City of Chicago employees. I've been hearing a lot of rumors that you have to put in details of your medical history. I've been hearing people say you have to download DNA samples. I've been hearing people say you have to go and give blood. None of this is true. Here is what City of Chicago employees need to do by tomorrow. They go to the employee vaccination portal, chicago.gov/vaxportal. Here's what they see. They have to put in their full legal name, their department, whether or not they are an employee, because we are also having people who are in our offices who are not employees report their vaccination status. And then there's one simple question. Are you vaccinated? Yes or no? They then have to certify that this is true and type in their signature. If they say, yes, I am vaccinated, there's one additional page. They have to put in the vaccine manufacturer, the date of their first dose, the date of their second dose. They then have to upload a copy of that vaccination record. Again, they have to certify that it's true and type in their signature. That's it. If they answer no, I'm not vaccinated, the only thing they have to answer at this point, have you been granted a medical or religious exemption from the vaccination policy? Yes or no? I certified that it is true and accurate, and put in their signature. That's it. And that is what people need to have finished by tomorrow to be in compliance with the policy and to avoid going into non-disciplinary no pay status. So, you know, I talk about COVID all the time. I'm not going to take up any more time this morning or this afternoon, but I hope those numbers speak for themselves. Our only goal here is protecting Chicago and getting us all past this pandemic. Vaccination is the key tool to make that happen, and I appreciate the mayor's leadership in making this decision. With that, I'm happy to bring up Eric Carter, First Deputy of the Chicago Police Department.
Thank you, Dr. Garwadi. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. We're here today to ensure that every officer in the Chicago Department remains safe and healthy. For the department to get through this pandemic, we must do it together. That means showing up for work and everyone getting vaccinated. I know there are concerns that police officers will not comply with the city's COVID-19 vaccine mandate and will not show up for their scheduled shifts after the mandate deadline, which is tomorrow, October 15th. But our job as professionals is to provide safety to the residents of Chicago, who we serve and protect. That is our obligation. It is our mission of the Chicago Police Department. We must fulfill our mission, and that is our duty as professional police officers. It is also our expectation that all officers will comply with the city's vaccine mandate. The vaccines are safe, effective, and free. Science has proven that the best way to prevent serious illness from this potentially deadly virus is to get vaccinated. So, per the mandate, every member of this department must be fully vaccinated for COVID-19 by October 15th as a condition of employment, unless they have an approved medical or religious exemption. As City of Chicago employees, all department members must submit their vaccination status by October 15th to the city's vaccination portal. If you're not fully vaccinated by October 15th or are waiting for a response to a submitted exemption request, you must undergo COVID-19 testing twice a week with tests separated between 3 and 4 days apart. You must obtain those tests on your own time, at your own expense, and report those results to the city. The test option is only available through December 31st. Members of this department who refuse to comply with the requirements of the mandate may be subject to disciplinary action up to and including separation. With that, I'd like to call up Chief McDermott of Chicago Police Department.
Thank you. First, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Chicago Police Department is committed to a safe and healthy workforce and is committed to keeping the streets of Chicago safe. The department is asking all members to comply with the city's new policy of uploading your vaccination status to the city's portal. Doing so is not an option, it is mandatory. I know the residents and businesses have expressed concerns that the department will not be properly staffed heading into the weekend. I can assure you that this is not true. Chicago Police Department will be fully staffed and ready to protect the citizens of the city. It is our full expectation that all Chicago Police Department members will comply with the city's new policy. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Very proud of what's happening in our school district. One of the things that we have seen clearly, cases continue to decline. Our schools are safe. Our parents are seeing that. In fact, we're getting less questions about safety. We're getting more questions now about academics and then how our children are doing. The one thing I would plead, one of the things we know, and I'm very excited that hopefully soon in the next few weeks, 5 to 11-year-olds could be approved. Our children right now do not have access to vaccines for under age 12. So it's not only about getting vaccinated for our adults and our children over age 12, but it's about keeping our youngest children safe. And that's what I would ask, because anytime we've seen any cases, they tend to be, they come out of the community or out of the homes. And so please, I would ask, our staff, they're doing what's right. Any staff that's not vaccinated by the end of this Friday, which will be very few, will be required to get tested once a week. We have testing at every single school. But I'll tell you, we're seeing most of our staff either are vaccinated or will already have their first shot. And we do have some exemptions for medical and for religion. But again, what I would ask, in order to keep our children safe, especially under age 12 who do not have access to vaccines, please get vaccinated. It's not just your life, it's also the life of our children. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Commissioner Biaggi with the Department of Transportation. So our department has made an all-out push over the last several weeks to ensure that we have department-wide compliance with the policy, and we're seeing positive results. We expect our response rate to keep increasing over the next 24 hours, and the balance of our employees will comply with the policy and upload their information to the portal. This vaccine policy is about ensuring a safe workplace for our employees, but as you heard, for everyone our employees might come in contact with, including members of the public. We know that the vaccine is the safest way to achieve that goal. We urge all city staff and their departments to get vaccinated as soon as possible and report on that portal. And I want to thank my team at CDOT for their efforts to get themselves vaccinated and their colleagues in compliance and further vaccinated. Thank you. Introduce Ken Meyer from the Bureau of Consumer Protection.
Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot. Thank you, Commissioner Biaggi. Good afternoon. My name is Ken Meyer. I am the Acting Commissioner for the Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, also known as BACP. BACP's core mission is to protect consumers and workers and to support businesses, especially in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, to make Chicago vibrant and safe for all. When I say protect workers, it goes beyond all the workers throughout Chicago. It also means our own workers, my department, and all the City of Chicago workers. To that end, the City of Chicago COVID-19 vaccination policy was put into place because getting vaccinated keeps our employees safe, as well as the many residents who visit our facilities every day for service. Our employees need to feel safe just as much as the public needs to have relief in knowing that our employees are committed to protecting Chicago. That is why I am proud to say that over 70% of the BACP employees have reported their vaccination status, and most are fully vaccinated, a core requirement of the City of Chicago's COVID-19 vaccination policy. The vaccine policy is about ensuring a safe workplace, and we know that vaccine is the most effective in doing so. It is crucial to the health and safety of every resident to slow and stop the spread of COVID-19 across our city, and especially within our city departments and agencies. This policy is about ensuring a safe workplace, and we know that the vaccine is the most effective way to do so. That is why I encourage all department heads to make sure their staff is fully vaccinated and report their vaccination status on the portal by the close of business tomorrow. On Monday, the City of Chicago plans to release fully vaccinated data, including how many residents are fully vaccinated in each department. And I'm hopeful that Chicago's business owners follow our lead. I want business owners, patrons, and staff to dine and shop safely and responsibly. Under the Protect Chicago 77 campaign, business owners can obtain a Chicago Business Vax self-certification to show their commitment to protecting Chicago by requiring their staff and patrons to be fully vaccinated. The self-certification questionnaire is available at chi.gov/77pledge. You can also learn more by viewing BACP's webinar about the Chicago Business Vax self-certification process at youtube.com/ChicagoBACP. Finally, I want to take a moment to thank the many businesses that have shown their dedication to their employees and patrons throughout this pandemic. I encourage Chicagoans to support these businesses. Thank you, and now I want to introduce our new Commissioner of Streets and Sanitation, my friend, colleague, Cole Stollard.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Cole Stollard, Commissioner of the Department of Streets and Sanitation. We at Streets and Sanitation understand that it's very important for everyone to be vaccinated to ensure the health and safety of our workers out in the field and in the office. I want to thank Streets and San staff who have done an incredible job ensuring that all employees have the important information on vaccine requirements, including a testing option for employees until December 31st. We will continue to promote the benefits of being vaccinated to our employees so we can protect the residents of this great city and beyond. Thank you, and at this time I'm going to bring up the Commissioner of Chicago Public Library, Chris Brown.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Library Commissioner Chris Brown. Every month we see hundreds of thousands of visitors to our libraries, and so many of these are the city's most vulnerable. People who are housing insecure, people who can't afford their own digital access, people who are the elderly or seniors, and that includes also our youngest readers. So those kids who are coming in who just really want to find that book and start that reading journey. And so it's so important that we vaccinate all of our staff so that we can keep the most vulnerable safe as they're accessing all of that learning resources. And it's also why it's so important for us to support the mayor's goal of having 77% of Chicagoans vaccinated by the end of this year. And I just want to thank all of our library staff and our department for what they've done to get themselves vaccinated and keep the most vulnerable accessing their libraries. I'd now like to welcome Mary Sheridan, First Deputy Commissioner of Chicago Fire Department.
Good afternoon. I'm here speaking on behalf of Commissioner Annette Nance-Holt and our entire command staff. The citizens of Chicago deserve a safe and healthy workforce. Vaccines are safe, effective, and have been scientifically proven to be the best defense against COVID-19. Today, we've issued orders to our command staff to ensure that all fire department members comply with the City of Chicago's website, uploading their vaccination status on the portal. There may be some concern about our first responders showing up. I can assure you that our fire engines and our paramedics will answer any calls for service. It's my expectation that all fire department members will comply.
Happy to take any questions that you have.
Thanks a lot, Mayor. Appreciate it. We're going to kick it off with Tamam Bradley. My colleague Asha will pass down the mic. 2 questions per reporters. And also I request that no one interrupt our speakers when they're speaking. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This is on, doesn't matter. Madam Mayor, so where are we then with the FOP? We saw that there might have been a note that went out to officers saying that in fact they would not be put on the no paid list tomorrow if they don't report their vaccination status. Is that true? Is that just a deal that was struck with the FOP? What can you tell us?
No, that's not accurate. I'm not sure where that comes from. We've been very transparent, very straightforward with the unions that represent our employees for weeks now, including the FOP, including Local 2, the fire union, the unions that represent the supervisors, as well as all the other public service unions. We have, I think, taken great strides and made some changes to the original policy as initially formulated in response to some of the good faith suggestions and recommendations that were made by the unions. But tomorrow's a real day. And our expectation is that people will comply. And we're going to keep doing, as you heard from the various commissioners are here, we're going to keep doing everything that we can to educate people into compliance and to continue to myth bust. One of the reasons why we wanted Dr. Arwady to show you the actual portal, because there's all kinds of mythology that's been spun up by some to suggest that we are asking for detailed, confidential, privileged medical information, and as you can see for yourself, just not so. It's pretty straightforward. Are you vaccinated or not? If you are, you upload your information. If you're not, then you go to a separate page and you indicate that and that you'll be taking the testing option. It's pretty straightforward, not burdensome, not intrusive. So we're going to keep pushing towards our goal. We're seeing numbers increase in every department across the city. As I indicated, we'll be providing early next week, as soon as we are able, what the status is of employee compliance across departments. But our goal is to create a safe workplace. And the best way that we can do that, the biggest tool that we have, is by getting people fully vaccinated.
John Catanzara is suggesting that 50% of members might not show up for work this weekend. Would that be, in your mind, a strike?
Well, I think you heard from Chief McDermott, who has a pretty good pulse for these things. We don't expect that to be an issue this weekend. We can fully expect that members will show up, and unless they're told to go home, they need to report for duty. Now, if they don't show up, that's a whole different issue. But my expectation is that people who swore an oath to serve and protect the city are going to honor that oath. And they're going to show up, they're going to report for duty, and they're going to comply with a legal directive from the city and an order from the police department. Anything less would be insubordination. We don't want to see that. There's no reason to see it. As you can see, it's very straightforward. And I hope that members of the department are not led over the cliff without a parachute by anybody who tells them they can just ignore legal, proper direction.
Thank you, Mayor. Erin Hegarty, Daily Line.
Hello.
Hi there.
Do you think what happened today with the disagreement over what happened with the proposals that were initially sent to Rules Committee demonstrates the need for City Council to have its own parliamentarian? And is Alderman Beal's proposal something you could get on board with?
You're talking a lot of insider baseball, so let me kind of decipher it for folks that are probably wondering, what in the world is this woman talking about? Look, here's the bottom line. We need City Council to function, and to function in an orderly fashion. And what we see played out over and over again is when Alderman Beal doesn't get his way, he complains that there's a problem, that the rules are rigged. The rules were voted on by the City Council. And if memory serves me correctly, he voted on the very rules that govern City Council procedures. So I've always thought that members of the city council should have their own lawyer, because the corporation council is the corporation for the council for the city, not the city council. I made that very clear coming in the door. Whether they do that or not, that's up to them. But fundamentally, the rules are the rules, and nobody gets to just break the rules when it doesn't suit them, as unfortunately I think Alderman Beal seems to think. And then to respond in the way that he did, which is basically retaliate against his colleagues. There's no place for that. There's no place for that. And luckily, Alderman Riley stood up and made a motion that made sure that the matters that were introduced by members of the city council in good faith could proceed forward. So, as the saying goes, you catch more flies with honey than with salt. It's a lesson that all of us need to learn, and I think one that would serve Alderman Bill well.
Okay, and this is from my colleague Alex Nitkin. On the search for a permanent head of COPA, it's been more than 5 months since Cindy Roberts resigned. And Joe Ferguson said during his budget hearing last week that nobody really knows how the search for a permanent replacement is being done. Can you give an update on that?
Yeah, and unfortunately that's just not true. We were very transparent about it. We used exactly the same process that was used previously in choosing the heads of COPA. A search committee drawn from the Citizens Advisory Committee that COPA itself has set up, along with others, put out a national search, sought applications, and now have made recommendations to me. And we will interview the finalists and then pick someone to lead the organization forward. Meanwhile, we have a very able acting chief administrator of COPA. So the notion that it's this mystery is not so.
All right, Craig Wall, ABC 7.
Couldn't tell from the mask. Mayor, so
but I could tell from the socks.
Thank you. If officers show up, if firefighters and paramedics show up, is someone actually checking to see whether they've uploaded their status? Because it seems to be they're saying they're going to show up expecting to be sent home as opposed to not showing up.
Well, obviously the Department of Human Resources has been operating a portal that was open now, I think, almost 2 weeks, where city employees could upload their information. That information is being sent out on a regular basis to city commissioners. So, yes, we have a sense on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, of who signed up, who has not. And commissioners have been reaching out to those folks to remind them of what their obligation is. So, and I'll just repeat what I said before. No employee should abandon their post. If there's a reason for them not to be there, they will be told directly by a supervisor, but not showing up creates a whole other set of issues for them.
Alderman Beal suggesting if there is not enough officers on the street, if for some reason what you're asking for and hoping for doesn't happen, that maybe the governor should declare a state of emergency, suggesting the National Guard should be called out. Are you prepared to take any kind of action like that if there is a major shortfall of manpower?
Well, I don't like to deal in hypothetical scenarios that have not presented themselves. Obviously, we believe in planning and being ready, but our primary focus from now until not only with our own city workforce, but with residents writ large that are eligible for the vaccine, is to continue the important work of educating them about why the vaccine is safe, why it makes sense for them to take, why it makes sense for their families, their coworkers, and members of the public that they get vaccinated. We have an opportunity to save lives. And what I would say is it is an incredibly discouraging thing to think about the number of lives that have been lost. Now, many of those lives that are lost that Doctor already reported were lost before there was a life-saving vaccine. But now that there's a life-saving vaccine, we've got to do everything that we can to educate people about why taking the vaccine is so important. It's not a nicety, it's a reality. When you look at the exponential increase and risk to yourselves as an unvaccinated person, not just to get sick, but to die of the vaccine. And if you've got an underlying comorbidity, if you are a person of color, that risk goes up exponentially. And here's what we know. We know that 97% of the people who are in the hospital and dying of COVID are unvaccinated. That makes no sense. We have the vaccine at our fingertips. It is real, it is widely available, it is free, and it is life-saving. So I encourage everyone, if you're still on the fence, as we know some people are, Let us educate you about the safety of the vaccine. Let us talk to you about what your fears and concerns are. But come into the body of people who have understood that getting this vaccine is necessary to save your life, the life of your family members, and the life of everyone that you come into encounter with. Everybody wants to put the pandemic in the rearview mirror. We can't get there if we still have a substantial part of our population that's unvaccinated. We've got to do more, all of us, which is why we launched the Protect Chicago 77. Every one of our neighborhoods has room for growth, and we want to encourage that growth by getting people vaccinated.
Thank you, Mayor. Greg Pratt, Chicago Tribune.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
You're welcome.
The question I want to understand about the vaccine mandate and the rules on October 15th is, do the people who aren't complying with the rules go into no pay status immediately, or do they go into no pay status Monday or at some indeterminate time in the future?
Well, as you might imagine, it's going to take us a little bit of time to make sure that we've got information correct, and we want to make sure that we're reaching out to people who appear not to be in compliance to determine if that's in fact so. So it'll take a little bit of time to sort that out. We want to do belts and suspenders on this and give people the benefit of the doubt. But once we understand that people have not complied with the simple request to say yes or no, or that I'm going to take the testing option, then yes, we will be moving forward and putting people into no pay status.
Well, could that be a process of days? Would that be weeks?
Well, I don't want to, it's not going to be weeks, but it's not going to be Saturday or Sunday. It's going to take us a little bit of time to go through the information and then verify with the employees, as you would expect, that in fact they have not done what they were mandated to do.
Dana Kozlov, CBS.
Hi, Mayor. Just going back to the police officer situation, are you concerned there will be a police officer shortage this weekend for either officers told to go home or officers who don't show up?
No, I'm not. Again, as the chief said, I don't expect that to be an issue. And as I just said in answering to Greg Pratt's question, it's going to take us a couple of days to make sure that we've got the information correct. We're going to be reaching out to those folks who appear not to have complied. And then once we know that they haven't complied, then we'll be taking the necessary action. But that'll take a couple of days, and I don't think that process will be complete over the weekend.
And also, it came up in...
And I want to emphasize again, if you are working over the weekend on a 24-hour shift in particular, you need to show up and you need to come to work. If you do not come to work, that's a whole different issue that you're going to subject yourself to. People need to show up. They need to do their jobs. If they are placed into a no-pay status, when that time, if that time ever comes, they're going to be told that by a supervisor. And unless and until that time happens, report for duty.
And on that same subject, is there a contingency plan should there be shortages, unexpected shortages?
Of course.
And what would the details of that plan be? Overtime?
Well, what I'll say is this. Of course, we always have contingency plans, and I'm not going to get into the details of that here. My hope is that we won't have to activate any contingency plans, but our number one priority, obviously, is to keep this city safe, and it's certainly my hope that sworn members of the department who swore an oath to serve and protect and abide by the laws of the Constitution of the United States, of the state of Illinois, and the ordinances of the city of Chicago, and who have been given a directive and an order that they will do so, and that they will not be insubordinate, that they will not follow the lead of FOP leadership that is not telling them the truth, that has misled them, and is tantamount to pushing them over a cliff without a parachute. I know our men and women of the police department are smarter than that, and I am confident that they will be in compliance. And if they're not, obviously there'll be consequences.
William, Newsmax?
No, excuse me, ma'am.
You can give him the microphone.
William Kelly, Newsmax.
That's just your signal to behave yourself.
Excuse me?
That's just your signal to behave yourself, sir.
The real Chicagoans that I talk to tell me that their real concern, the real epidemic that they're concerned about is your epidemic of violence in the city of Chicago, the shootings, the murders, the completely unsolved shootings and murders, by the way. on an average weekend in Chicago, we have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 shootings, okay? And that's fully staffed.
Is there a question here, sir?
If your rhetoric, your mandate results in even 20% of the Chicago Police Department not showing up or not being on the streets this weekend, will that blood be on your hands?
Well, sir, as always, you're hyperbolic and you're also wrong on your facts. In fact, our Chicago Police Department is solving more homicides this year than they have in the past 10 years. We have a clearance rate that is higher than it's been in the last 10 years. So you clearly like to peddle in hyperbole and rhetoric and all sorts of extremism, but the facts are the facts, and our police officers are working their tails off every single day. Our detectives are working their tails off every single day, and the challenges that we're facing in this time around gun violence are a result of many factors, and we've got to make sure that our county partners are doing their part. What I believe is that murderers, killers, rapists should not be on the street. And we've got a significant problem with the number of people that are out on electronic monitoring. So we need the courts to step up and do their part and make sure that criminal justice in this city is actually real. The absence of accountability that's your crime wave right there. And so I'm going to continue doing our part. These brave men and women who are on the front lines every day are going to continue to do their part. We need partnership with the county to make sure that they step up and do their part. Thank you.
The only hyperbole that really matters is your hyperbole.
So, sir, if you've got a question, please answer it. But I'm not going to banter with you. That's not what these press conferences are about. You've got facts, you have a question, answer it. Otherwise, we're going to move on because others of your colleagues actually want to ask questions and get to information that's important for residents of the city to know. Are you done?
I believe you said to the FOP, bring it. That phrase is typically an invitation to a fight. Is that really the relationship that the mayor of the city of Chicago should be having with the FOP when we have a crime epidemic in the city of Chicago?
What I said is, why don't you give her the microphone and not be, yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for complying with some rules. What I said is that if the FOP is threatening litigation, I don't fear that. I'm a 30-plus year litigator. I don't fear lawsuits because I am confident that we have the law and the facts on our side. So if they want to bring a lawsuit, go right ahead. Mary Ann?
NBC.
Mayor, the governor did say that he reached out to you. I'm not sure if he spoke to you directly or to your office, but did offer, if needed, resources from the state. Does that mean that offer is sort of on standby? Can you give us any kind of indication where that all stands with the mayor as far as perhaps the state police and national?
So, again, I don't want to get into all the details of our contingency plan, but the state police have been incredible partners with us, particularly over these last 2 years. So if there is a need for us to lean into those resources, then we will.
Finally, some of the aldermen today, there was a divide, the ones we spoke to, some who said, let's take a pause, let's take a break, maybe perhaps not have this deadline right now. Others, of course, said they agree with it. What do you say to those aldermen, as well as perhaps residents who say, you know what, we don't need a vaccine mandate?
Well, I understand that the FOP has whipped up a lot of concern, but here's what I know. The only way that we can guarantee a safe workplace is by having the vaccine. So kicking the can down the road really isn't my vocabulary. I think you've seen, and I've demonstrated over the time of my time as mayor, that I'm willing to take on the tough challenges, particularly when it comes to saving lives. And this fundamentally, all the rhetoric, all the noise is about saving lives. The way that we can do that, the way that we can make our workplace safe, the way that we can make public spaces safe, and the way we can make private spaces safe is by getting people vaccinated. It makes no sense to me that in this time, when we have a life-saving vaccine at our fingertips that we know is safe, that we know is widely available, that is free, that people are not taking advantage of that. And it's devastating to me that we know right now there are people in emergency rooms, there are people in ICU beds clinging to life who are unvaccinated, and that more are going to die. It doesn't make sense. What we need to do is educate our residents about the efficacy, the safety of the vaccine, make sure that it is widely available, talk to them about their fears and concerns, but get them to the point where they are taking the vaccine for themselves, for their family, and for the rest of our city. This is a pandemic where we are truly all in this together. The weakest links make a difference in all of our lives. And the weakest link are people who are not unvaccinated, or who are unvaccinated. And we've got to reach out to those folks. They're our neighbors, they're our friends, they're our family members. We got to keep talking, and we've got to persuade them that this is the only way path forward for them, for their families, and for our city.
Heather Schroen on your far left, Mayor.
Hi, Heather.
Hi, Mayor. I don't see Superintendent David Brown or Fire Commissioner Annette Nance Holt behind you. Why aren't they here, and why aren't we hearing directly from the leaders of the department about how important it is for the members of their department to get vaccinated and to show up for work?
Well, let me push back a little bit. Both Superintendent Brown and Commissioner Holt have talked at length publicly, but also internally to the members of their respective departments about the vaccine. They are not here because they're attending to other city business, but the leaders come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and you're seeing them here. First Deputy Chief Carter, Chief Denahan, Chief McDermott, we're all unified, all saying the same thing: get the vaccine, sign up to the portal. That message is very clear, and it's been said loud and clearly by the superintendent and by Commissioner Holt.
Shifting topics, Inspector General Joe Ferguson's last day is Friday. There has not been an interim named for his replacement, and can you commit to releasing his report on the Anjanette Young raid aftermath?
So there has been an interim named. That information has been shared internally with the IG. I'm expecting them to release it publicly. It'll be somebody within their ranks who has been a longtime employee and will serve. And regarding Anjanette Young, I have not seen that report, and I know I'm going to have a lot of questions about the scope of it. So once we have all of that resolved, we'll talk about down the road about what he has said. But I'm also looking forward to getting a readout from former 7th Circuit Judge Ann Williams and her colleagues at Jones Day.
Mayor, last report of the day, Mariah Wolfel from WBZ in the back.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi there, how are you?
Good, how are you? Good. Just one question. Can you share preliminary numbers on where the city stands with vaccination of employees and with reporting vaccination status? I know you're going to share more details next week, but ballpark, where are we at percentage-wise?
Well, as I've said several times this week, and I think every time that you've asked the question, we'll share those details early next week as soon as they're available.
Thank you very much, folks.
Thanks,
Have a
everyone.
great day.